What is up, everybody? This is the Wild Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Heskett, and this is episode 35. Today, I interview Jess Banes. She is a graduate of the PWC program. She has lost around 80 total pounds and has graduated the program and has maintained it on her own for quite a while. So she was with the program for about a year, lost a bunch of weight on her own, hit a wall, couldn't do anything, joined our program, lost the rest of the weight, and is now maintaining a very healthy lifestyle. But half this episode is going to be about her journey with weight loss, building confidence, starting her hobby of rock climbing, which is awesome. I love seeing her post of her doing that. But she's also a founding member of the WildHErness. It's WildHERness organization, which is a group of women who put together events for very low cost or even free for kids, women, or minority groups to get outdoors when there might be some barrier entry. So PWC, my company, we support this organization. I think they're awesome, doing an awesome job. So half the interview is going to be about that. The other half is going to be about that organization and why I really like them, why I support them. So she's going to explain that to you. So without further ado, let's get this interview started with Jess. What's up, Jess?
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Awesome. So it's been a little while since we've last talked, but you had a amazing weight loss transformation. You are with PWC for what, 6 months? About 6 months? A little longer?
I'd say it was closer to almost a full year.
Was it almost a full year?
Yeah.
Shit. That's my bad.
No,
But it was
the year went by really fast.
Yeah, it did. So yeah, you came to us and then had an amazing transformation. But I'll let you tell a little bit about yourself and kind of like your weight loss story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Like Chris said, I'm Jess. I'm 31. I live in Kansas. I'm a probation officer who works with mental health clients in the probation side of things. Really just I've been active in the outdoors my whole life, but active is a stretch. I've hunted and fished with my dad off and on. But 2.5 years ago, me and 3 other ladies founded a nonprofit that really focused on us being out in the outdoors and mentoring people. And I started noticing I was more than just unhappy with my body. It wasn't functioning to keep up with the demands of what we were doing on the side, plus my full-time job. And I felt like I was the slow one of the group, or, holding people up when we were hunting or hiking. And it was becoming more pressing. It wasn't so much just I'm uncomfortable. It's I need to fix this long-term. So the age of 30, I just started volume eating at first before I hooked up with Chris and PWC. Just vegetables, just really just trying to make myself full off of high volume, low calorie things. And I lost 40 pounds in like 4 to 6 months on my own. And then I just hit a block.
Hit the wall.
Yeah, like you do, right? And so I got connected with Chris, and then I dropped another 40 pounds in the next 5 or 6 months, and totaling out to 80 pounds. And that was honestly I don't want to say lifesaver, but it changed my life to the point I mean I will never go back to what I was. And I know people say that all the time, but just the comparison on how I feel physically, mentally, socially, it's night or day. So it was really important for me.
Oh, I remember with your check-ins, like you'd go, like your favorite thing is like waterfowl hunting.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, like I was able to get all the decoys out, and then I wasn't so exhausted I had to sleep in the blind.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I still enjoy a good nap or two when I'm out hunting, but it's not because I'm physically exhausted. And then that was another barrier for me. I wouldn't want to go hunting by myself. I wouldn't want to do these things because I'm like, well, that's so much work, and I've progressed over the last 2 years. This waterfowl season, I went out probably 15 times by myself. when I could get away from work after just starting my new job, just threw on all my gear, hucked it around, walking a couple miles in waders, and it's not an obstacle anymore. I don't look at a hill and go, oh geez, it's like, oh, that's a hill, so it's the subtle things that you don't know are going to change, like tying my shoe isn't a labor intensive act anymore, those kind of small wins.
That's the big things. Like people don't always think like how I'm gonna look and I'm not gonna weigh this much, but it's like that, especially the people who listen to this podcast, like generally we like to do things. And if you have anything that's going to be like a barrier, like you said, a hill, like, oh, we have to hike a mile. Now it's like a mile's like, you're like, okay, like whatever. Like we'll just throw it. It'll suck a little bit. I might get a little sweaty, but
Yeah, exactly.
I can go and do this thing I really like to do. And it's not like, oh, it's not like right off the road.
Yeah,
God.
I can't walk 6 feet and sit in a blind. Yeah.
Yeah, that was I remember seeing that, like the changes of like, holy shit, like I lost weight, but the big thing was I was able to do this weekend, or the big
Hmm.
thing was I was I was no longer the slow one of the group. Like people had to like keep up with me, like
Yeah.
those kind of things that you had along your journey. It was amazing to see, and that's like the really important stuff that people don't realize.
Yeah.
I remember years ago I worked with a client, and I still talk to her every once in a while, but for her wedding, she wanted to lose weight for her wedding, and it was the first time in a year she jumped. She didn't even realize she was doing it, but it was like a song came on and she started hopping up and down. She's like, I haven't done that since high school. She's 35 at the time. She's like 35. It was like, holy shit, like wow, that's a major accomplishment.
Hmm. Yeah, just those small things. And weight and functionality and fitness is when you're heavy and not feeling it, it's a barrier. Like, we were just talking about rock climbing before this, and I got into rock climbing because I lost the weight that first 40 pounds. Like those auto belays don't catch heavy people. You got to be somewhat under a weight limit and things like that, and there's no way I would have enjoyed it. When I started my weight loss journey, I was 280 pounds, and it was just, doing anything is miserable. So it opened up a lot of doors for me to go explore other passions.
Yeah, I mean, with rock climbing, like you're pulling your whole body weight up a vertical area. So if you put like held an 80-pound weight, it's like good luck like trying to go say 50 feet up, like
Yeah.
straight up. Like good luck doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It wouldn't be happening. So
But here you are now you're rock climbing. So I see you all the time with that. So how did you get into rock climbing?
it was just something I kind of like saw. There's a chain of gyms out here in the Kansas City area. It's called ROKC, and they're indoor climbing gyms. And I had seen them. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I was like, oh, okay, I want to try it. And I hem-hawed around, but my stepmom was like, nope, let's go. Because we had an event at one of my nonprofits events that had a rock wall. I got about 3 feet up it, and I was like, nope, that's not for me. But she saw that, and she's like, no, we're gonna go try again. And she loved it. I loved it. I was hooked. Takes a lot of my money now. So, like most hobbies do.
Yes, most hobbies do that. Hunting and rock climbing, like those are very expensive hobbies to have.
Specifically duck hunting.
Duck hunting is
Yeah,
yeah.
pricey.
It's a dangerous hobby to have.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Um, so tell us a little bit more about your organization, because that was something I randomly came upon through like we reached out and then it was like, hey, I do this, run this organization. It's like, hey, I have an online coaching company that helps women in the outdoors. Like,
Yeah.
wow, holy shit. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about WildHErness.
Absolutely. So WildHERness was founded by myself and 3 other women. And then we are also the current officers for the nonprofit. We're a federally recognized nonprofit. Our main goals are getting women and youth and any kind of minority into the outdoors. It's the big R3 movement, really, we're driving, because the passions that we have about the outdoors, if we don't get more people involved in it, the funding is going to go down. Our parks are, they're not going to be upkept. There's a lot that goes into it, on top of us just wanting to genuinely share our passions in the outdoors with other people. So we have a couple of different pillars of what kind of supports our nonprofit. Mentorship is one of them. Community outreach events and community give back events. We want to give back to the communities and the public land that we utilize. We do a lot of cleanups, service projects, and things like that. So that our main focus is really just outdoor exposure for people. So we host low to no cost outdoor events. Being a nonprofit, we're definitely not profiting off of it. So, whatever it costs us to really hold the event is what we charge, just enough for, us to break even. So we've done things from caving events. We do learn to hunt camps. So this year I helped a couple of women do a learn to hunt duck camp. So we do an education portion for a day. So we go over rules, regs, laws, safety. We let them shoot clays, set up blinds, practice calling, and the next day we all go out and go hunting together.
Nice.
So yeah, we've done that for deer and pheasant. We just had our first quail camp. We've done horseback riding events, kayaking events, archery events, handgun events. We have done some things more on the crafting side of things. Just pretty much anything that involves being an outside wildlife ID. We've done that. Two of us are Kansas Hunter Ed safety instructors. So we've put on hunter's education courses. So we just that's what our free time goes to, is really just holding events and just trying to get people outside.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
I know a couple, like, you guys really are, like, it's free to, like, no cost at all. I forget, like, something that it cost, but it was like $20 or something. I was like, that's it. But yeah, you guys really do put something on to help people get out there, whether it's youth, women, or, like you said, minorities. Give like a low barrier of entry to actually like getting out into the outdoors, because that is something with the outdoors. Like, there are major barriers of entry.
Yes.
Like, if you haven't grown up doing it, or you don't have like private land, like it can be very difficult to get into the outdoors. It can be cost prohibitive. Like, all right, I want to get into hunting. It's like, wait, I have to buy that equipment. Like, what equipment do I need to buy versus like what's everyone saying, like, you have to buy? Like, what the fuck? Like, how do I figure all that out? I remember trying to navigate that. I had, I'm very fortunate that my parents have private land, but if someone doesn't, like, it's very difficult. And you guys do an amazing job of opening up an opportunity for people to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a big thing for us, because three of us grew up hunting off and on with our family members or parents. And then Sharinda, she's a late onset hunter. She got on into shooting and reloading and then transitioned into hunting. It's overwhelming for a woman in the industry to get into that, and we have a very diverse group. Sharinda's Black. I'm a lesbian. So, like, it's just, we walk into Bass Pro and we're not the typical Instagram hunter that you see walking into Bass Pro. So I try to say it nicely. We don't get flocked to for help. Nobody say, "Oh yeah, I'll take you hunting." It's just kind of, there are those social barriers, the financial barriers, of course, and knowing where to go and what to do. I think those are two of the biggest barriers we have here from women out here, is I don't have anywhere to go. And what if I break a law? What if I do something wrong? So we spend a lot of time with whatever we're doing. It's purely an education thing. Even if we get rained out, we can't hunt, we can't fish, whatever, we're simulating things so they can practice and start to feel more comfortable transitioning into that. So we loan gear between the four of us, and especially one of my co-founders, Sharinda. We have everything that's inside of a Bass Pro. So, we don't want people to go buy waders for duck hunting if we've got 3 pair. We really, kind of go over that when we're planning our events of what can we do to make this more accessible for people?
And that's especially like when you're trying to figure things out. Cause I still don't have waders, but it's like every kind of hunt's different. And I think a lot of people think of like, at least, we're more like the Eastern hunting. So the big thing is either waterfowl or deer hunting. And that's kind of
Right.
what people just group it all, but it really depends on what you're hunting. And you're going to have different gear for all of it, especially if you get like really into it. So like if you get really into goose hunting, that's going to be different than if you get really into duck hunting. There's
Yeah.
similarities, but there's a lot of differences as well. So it
Mm-hmm.
depends what rabbit hole you go down and uh, what you like. Like you don't want to buy everything and then like, oh, I hate squirrel hunting, but I love waterfowl, or
Right.
I
Right.
absolutely despise waterfowl, but I love deer hunting. You don't want to buy all
Mm-hmm.
that equipment because it's
Right.
good equipment's
Well,
expensive.
yeah. Well, and it varies season to season and what your mode of hunting. So if you're spring turkey hunting, that's a little different than fall turkey hunting. And then if you're a waterfowl hunter, if you're a field hunting ducks or geese as opposed to on the water, you're talking about hundreds of dollars in different directions. So yeah, it can become costly just to go try something.
Yeah.
So we joke around that we're the try it before you buy it group. So
Nice. That, I mean, you're not wrong. I feel, especially like where I am, there's very limited public land. So if someone's looking to get into, and obviously we're in different states, so there are different laws, but what do you guys kind of teach when someone's looking to get into, like find a spot or like go scout or something like that?
well, we kind of go through two methods. We open it up to as long as we feel comfortable with their skills at a certain point. If we're going out, let us know if you want to go. We all try and spend as much time in the outdoors on our downtime as we can. And we've taken people just
Nice.
on our free time outside of events. The other option is living in Kansas. I've got some really good friends in Kansas Parks and Wildlife that have been really, really supportive of our mission. Kansas has a lot of walk-in land because we have people who enroll in a program that's walk-in hunting. So they will kind of like lease their land to Kansas Parks and Wildlife for people to hunt on. They enroll it in this program.
Gotcha.
So they have, every year they update their atlases, they update their apps and their maps of where you can access, when you can access it, and they make it pretty simple if you're learning. It takes a little effort, but they're going to tell you what you can hunt there, what method of take, if it's archery only, and we have a check-in system now. They rolled out this app where you can check in, and some places won't allow more than 2 or 3 hunters to be checked in at a time. So we go over those things because that was a huge barrier for me. Nobody wants to just go take a gun and go trample around the woods.
Right.
We want to be safe and we want to abide by the laws, and that's a big thing in all of our events that we teach is making sure we're abiding by that, and then driving home the ethics portion of being an outdoors person. So
Yeah, Pennsylvania does not have that program. Our program is you get a map of there's farms and properties, private land that enroll in a program, but then you have to go and knock on the door and get permission. But it's like they give you like the GPS location, like here's the address to go to the place, but then you actually have to go, and then they can give you the yay or nay on that.
oh wow.
But yeah,
Okay.
it's not like that. So there's plenty of land around here. The downside is a lot of them put that up, but then they limit it. It's like, nope, we're gonna say no, but we have you up. But they let like their whole family participate because like they get like a tax write-off, or I forget
Yeah.
what they get. They get something, but
Hmm.
it's not just like roll up and okay, we can go hunt this farm. It's not like that at all. Um, so it's a little bit harder here in Pennsylvania. I know Pennsylvania does have a ton of public land. We have millions of acres. Just where I'm at, not so much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's another thing too. You think of Kansas. Kansas is massive, and we have pronghorn. I've never seen one. I grew up in Missouri. I've lived
I
in
forget you
Kansas for the
guys
last
have
six
that.
years. I've never seen a mule deer, and I've never seen a pronghorn. But if I go 6 hours that way, I mean, that's like whitetail over here. So it's crazy, like, what a couple hours drive can do. But it's hard. It's hard to load up and sink time and money in a big trip like that and maybe not be successful. So
Well, especially for a beginner. Like as a
yeah,
beginner, you don't want to run over someplace, have zero knowledge of the area, like you,
yeah.
and then be unsuccessful. Like that's a good way to like never go hunting again. You want to
Oh,
like let's get a few like successful hunts, which is where like small game, like something
mhm.
like squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, or even waterfowl is like you're probably going to see. You might not get anything, but you're at least going to see something.
Right, right. Yes. And that's another thing. We try and build and incorporate, different types of classes. So we've taught foraging classes. If you're out hiking in the woods, you can tap into other skills where you're going home having learned something, regardless if you harvest or not. So we keep that in mind too, because I don't know how many times we've taken people out and it's been a bust, and I'm like, well, they're never going again. But most people really like, once they get in the outdoors, they get the hook. So
Once you're out there and you get that peace and quiet, and you just roll, like I always say, like you go, like when I go out, it's like nothing matters. Like it's just me in the woods
mhm.
and wildlife around. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is a credit score out there? Like the fox running by me doesn't know what a credit score is,
Right.
doesn't know what's going on in politics, what's happening in DC, or right now we have some weird, at the time we're recording this, some weird thing going on with the Silicon Valley Bank. I have not been paying enough attention to that. So something weird's going on there. Like
Yeah.
when you're out there, none of that matters. Like it all goes away. And you're like,
Yeah.
all that matters is if I can ethically take this animal that I'm hunting and bring home the meat to put in my freezer,
Yeah.
and then the rest of it you just enjoy and you watch. And that for me is like super powerful, being outside. Like, okay, that's where I
Yeah.
get hooked.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't take anything, I've relaxed. But then foraging is an awesome skill. Like I've started getting a little bit more into foraging, and it's like we have a huge grove of sting nettle that's easy, well, easy-ish to forage.
Right. Right.
Don't grab it with your bare hands.
Right. Right. Yeah, and it's therapeutic for a lot of people. We um I specifically, I just had a 2-year career in mental health. I'm back into corrections now, working with people who struggle with their mental health that are on probation. And I'm always looking for ways to connect people into something that's going to be therapeutic and a healthy alternative in their lifestyle. And that's what being in the outdoors does for people. It's we've got a lot of reasons behind what we do, why we do what we do, other than just loving it and sharing our passion. If we can help people, single moms feel autonomous, we had a mom come out, we taught her how to hunt. This last season, she took her kids hunting, and it's seeing people just thrive and be their best self. And I'm sure it's kind of similar in coaching, when you're coaching or you're training people, to see people kind of blossom and come out of their shell and really develop a passion for something you share. You can't beat that.
Well, it's really powerful when they develop that passion, but they build that confidence, and then that confidence starts to bleed over into other areas of their lives. Like,
Yes.
I don't know how many women I've coached where they've gotten out of toxic relationships. Like, literally, we had like when I was working, we had like a 6 month period where it seemed like a woman every single month was divorcing their husband, and then later we would find that we're like, wow, this is weird. And then later found out like, wow, there was some dark shit going on behind closed doors, and finally they got the courage and the confidence to be like, we're done.
Yeah.
Or it be that now they have the confidence, they're doing better at work, they're giving better presentations, they're getting raises, they're getting promotion after promotion. Like, holy shit. And that doesn't have to be at the gym. Like, we have the research to also back that the outdoors also does that. It's literally called nature therapy. And
Yeah.
just being in the outdoors in any capacity at all helps promote more creativity, less stress. It lowers our blood pressure. Like, you
Absolutely.
want to do better at work, like be more creative. Even if you're not in a creative job, like for you with like say corrections, like if you're more creative, you can make more connections to other things that can help a person. If someone's in finance, like, or something like it might be the world's most like tedious, boring job, but if you have more creativity, then you can again create more connections or figure out problems.
Hmm.
Okay, this is we see this, I see this, let's address this, and then that's where you become like have better skills, move up in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I am always big on like people getting outdoors. I do like I try to get outside every day at least to walk my dog and like go through the little nature trail because that's just time for me to decompress. And I just now that I know the benefits, I'm like, okay, it's literally going to help benefit my job. And those days that I don't get outside, it's just like I'm fucking miserable.
Yep, absolutely. That's how I feel if something comes up like I go to the gym in the mornings. So I get up at 5. I'm usually at the gym by 5:30 or 6. If I've got an early appointment or something for work or something, and I have to alter that, I feel the same thing. If I don't get outside, I feel very like the seasonal affective disorder thing. That is such a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It has been miserable here in Kansas. We will have typical Kansas, we'll have 60-degree weather and then we'll have 10-degree weather for 3 days. It'll rain for a week and then we'll get snow. And it'll be back, there's no consistency and it's hard, until that spring, finally hits. We're inside a lot.
Yeah, you
So
kind of have to force yourself out. Like today was a really nice sunny day, and when I was too busy
mhm.
today to really be outside. But when I was like, oh man, just want to
Yeah.
be outside. I want to be working in the garden. Like I want to like close down work. Like I'm like tomorrow's Friday. If it's a nice day, I haven't looked at the weather, but I'm like hoping it's gonna be a nice day. I'm like I'm gonna end work early, go out there and enjoy some time outside. But it definitely has an effect on you. And do you guys do any like gardening classes?
We haven't ruled it out. We've done over 100 events. So when I try and go back, I'm like, what have we done? We've done some pollinator things, I know for sure. During some service projects where we're planting natural seed back in the habitat to help, create habitat for things like
Nice.
quail and birds and stuff like that. But I don't know if we've done a specific gardening one off the top of my head.
Okay. What well, we can I'm like in gardening. Like I literally like mapped out my garden today, but let's go back to that quail thing. So I'm getting ready to do my food plots, and this is way off of any health subject, but fuck, it's my podcast. I can talk about what the fuck I
Do
want.
what you want.
Um, so I'm about to do like we're about to put out like a pollinator wildflower blend. So we're planning on doing that within the next 2 weeks. But it's also food plot season. So for those of you listening who don't know what food plot is, it's for hunting season to help attract deer to your area by providing food in a natural way, like clover or brassicas or ryegrass. But it's not illegal because you have to like actually grow it,
Mhm.
at least in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure what the Kansas rules are. So I'm about to do that, but it also helps benefit the herd as a whole. Like you might take 1 or 2 deer over that, but you might feed like a dozen or more. So with all that stuff being said, what's like great quail or other like upland game bird habitat? Because that is something that here in Pennsylvania, in some areas, especially where I am, the habitat's going away. So what's
Mhm.
something we could plant or do to help support those species?
You would ask that. I am not an upland hunter. Of the group. It's the running joke. And it's because I haven't done it in a non-simulated way. The one time I did go pheasant hunting, it was on a game preserve. It was to get you into the outdoors. It was a women and youth event. It's an amazing event. Um, but they drive out and basically stash the birds and then you walk up on them.
Yep.
For me ethically that was hard, so I haven't done it. All of the pheasant population out here in Kansas, to my knowledge, is more in western Kansas.
Okay.
And I feel like the prairie grass is the biggest thing that they kind of thrive in. We've had a lot of problem with pheasant numbers, just from what I've been hearing, and in the lack of water in the habitat. So anything that would, help water runoff and like to retain water in ponds and pools and areas, I think would be something that would be a good bet. But the natural prairie grass, wildflowers, like you said, just anything that occurs naturally, boosting that, or clear cutting invasive species. We've done some events where we remove invasive honeysuckle, because it smothers other
Oh
plants.
yeah.
So clearing out what's invasive and overgrown and letting those natural grasses thrive, that's another thing we can do to kind of just help mitigate that.
Yeah. We have invasive wild hops, but
Hmm.
they're not the kind you make beer. They're Japanese hops. They don't have, so they're literally they're super invasive. It's this nasty vine. That's where I have to spray. And like the only way to get rid of them is spray, and then in the soil, I forget the term, but basically there's like 3 years worth of seeds or 5 years worth of seeds. So like every year I'm gonna have to go down there and spray
Hmm.
again. And that's the one time where it's like chemicals are needed to remove this invasive species. I try
Right.
to do organic and natural, but sometimes chemicals are needed. So right now we're doing like a pumpkin patch, but on the back side of that, we're doing all wildflowers for pollinators. But any upland game, we probably not going to get any. But if there's any, there'll be a small patch where they can be in. But the other thing is like switchgrass is also good
Mhm. Yeah,
because that's a
we did
perennial.
a windrow project for a guy that's helped us out a lot. He trains bird dogs, American Brittany's.
Okay.
So we went out and we cut down a lot of trees and created windrows for them to habitat in and out of. So that's another option. If you've got some brush that you can, if you're clear cutting, pile that up. Could be another option.
Nice. I am not clear cutting. I'm, but if one of you are listening, then that's also an option. Awesome. So, um, let's talk about your upcoming events. So, you guys are going to be WildHERness, which for those listening and not familiar, it's WildHERness. So that's how you spell it. So don't type in like regular like wilderness and it's not going to pop up. Um, but you guys are going to be a guest at the Midwest Bush Show coming up.
Hmm.
And then you guys have a fly fishing event on May 7th.
Yeah.
And where's that going to be at?
That'll be out here in, I think it's Lenexa, Kansas. Everything on the Kansas side, it's all one big city essentially. So, K&K Fly Fishers, we've done some events with them before. We've done some fly tying classes. We like to build off things. So, we've done some fly tying classes with them and some fly fishing classes with them. So, everything's going to be provided. You don't have to bring a fly rod. You don't have to have things. We've got all that stuff taken care of. You just show up and learn how to fly fish.
Awesome. So that's going to be May 7th. That's a skill I definitely need to learn. Um,
It's on my bucket list.
so last one's going to be your big one. So I know you guys like sold out last year, and I talked to Jess Rice, your president, and she told me all about it. It was awesome. But you have the
Yeah.
Go Wild event in late September.
Yes.
So for those unfamiliar, tell them what this is, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, Go Wild is our big yearly event. It stands for Go Outdoors, where you lead discovery. So it's WYLD. We partner with a Missouri chapter for Quail and Pheasants Forever, and we put on this event. It's a weekend long event. We had, I want to say, 75 women this last year. This was our second year, and last September doing it, and we had 30 classes. So essentially, it's like camp for adults. You get to come, stay a weekend. You can pick whether you want a tent camp or you want a cabin camp, whatever your comfort level is, and then you pick from those 30 classes that we provide over the weekend what you want to spend your time learning. We had everything from intro to archery, rock climbing, shotguns, rifles, pistols, kayaking, basic fishing, candle making, foraging, bird ID, tree ID. I mean, 30 different classes, rain barrel making. So there wasn't just outdoor stuff. It was like practical stuff if you're trying to homestead. We had wild game processing. That was a big hit because that's another barrier is if I harvest an animal, what do I do with it?
Yes.
So we hold that this will be our third year coming up. And it's what we prep for all year. It's a big thing. It's inclusive. It's not an intimidating environment. We have a huge mess hall. We have it at Bartle Scout Ranch in Osceola, Missouri. They've got everything right there for us. And there's a lot of networking there. We have people who have never quail hunted before come, but they're super proficient duck hunters. And they meet people who are really great at quail hunting, and they're exchanging information, and the work's doing itself, because they're going to go out and they're going to teach them this, and then they're going to teach them that. So we love it. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that it's like if you had any outdoor skill what you wanted to learn, this is the event. That's
Absolutely.
basically what I was like, okay, cool. So if you wanted to learn anything, or you wanted to learn a couple different things, like this is the weekend event to go and do, because you can get, at least your hands on something, try it out. Maybe it's something that you don't know if you would like, or it's something you really wanted to learn, you just haven't had a chance. It's like, go, this was this event. I remember Jess was like, talk a lot about hunting and shooting, but I think you had some vegans there.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, they had a great time. Like they just didn't participate in the hunting stuff. But they did like the other things. Like there's so many other things there that they're like, yeah, we're just doing these things. But it's like you said, it was an amazing event where everybody had something to do, everybody learned something, and then networking is obviously super important as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and we have people that come back and they're like, hey, can I teach a class here next year? I have this skill that you didn't have this class. Would you be interested? So it grows every year. We've grown quite a few trappers. We've done some trapping classes. I'll be straight up. Trapping's not for me. I'm an eat it person. If I'm not going to eat it, and I don't want to eat a possum. It's just not for me, and that's okay. And that's the beauty of our organization, because we're not pushers. Everybody has their own ethical limits and standards and thresholds, and like we welcome that. The vegans that we had a vegan show up to one of our pheasant hunts. She said, I'm just here to learn and understand, and that's beautiful. You don't come hang out. We have people that show up, they're like, I don't really want to do anything. I want to go sit at the hammock and I just want to be here for the downtime so I can hang out with everybody. Awesome. Like any excuse to get away from the kids, they say. Like we're just, this is our vacation. So, and we're happy to have those people. So
that's amazing. All right, to wrap things up, let's go back to talking about health and fitness. So if someone was starting out, what would you recommend to them to kind of like start their health or weight loss journey?
Probably a few things. The first one that comes to mind is fitness is not a linear transition. It's not a start to finish. What you're imparting and the changes, they're going to be lifelong changes, and they're not all bad things. The second thing is it doesn't happen overnight. You're going to have to put work into it, just like anything else. If you want your car to run well, you have to go get the oil change and change the tires. It's the same thing with your body. Don't have an all or nothing mentality about it. Living in 2023, as an American in general, is difficult. Everybody is stressed. There's a lot going on. If all you can do for that week is get your water in, and you didn't go to the gym 6 times a week, it's okay. It's not a all or nothing. You failed. So if you can get sleep and water down, everything else will fall in line. So, because that was a thing for me when I had failed previously, trying to get into a routine. No soda, no sugar. We're only eating vegetables. I need to work out for 3 hours a day. That's not sustainable. After 3 days of that, I was like, nope. And then I went and overcorrected and ate twice as much as if I would have ate just normal,
Yep.
So, and then I think the last one is it's just never too late. I'd say I was just the average amount of activity my whole life, and at 30 something just clicked for me. And I think a lot of it was working with Chris, because there's an education component to all of his coaching. I now know what I need to be doing for my body. If I've gained some weight, I know what the problem is, and it's I'm not pushing myself in the gym. I'm coasting. I'm overeating, which, hey, it happens. And so
Happens.
it's not linear. I know how to correct that, and I also know where to allocate my time and energy to not burn myself out mentally and physically. If I gain 2 pounds, I'm not going to die.
No.
As long as I'm keeping up and feeling okay, I'm keeping in the gym and I'm doing what I need to do, like, it's okay. So those are just a couple things that come to mind when I look back at where I was before I started my fitness journey and to where I am now.
What sounds like you were talking like me there. It's
I
like you
I
learned a few things.
Yeah, and I mean, I spend a lot of time on TikTok. That's another downfall of mine. And every time yours comes up, I'm like, yeah, that. So
Dude, TikTok
it
is
just makes sense.
so addictive. They have dialed in the algorithm for addiction.
Yes, and it might be an adult ADHD thing. I'm self-diagnosing here. I do not have any like comprehension of time when I open that app.
Dude,
It
time
just
flies.
dissolves. It does. I'm like,
It
oh, it's been
does.
2 hours. But you learn some cool stuff on there. I guess there's a positive to it. But yeah,
You
it's
can. You can. As long as you engage with the right accounts.
yes. Yes,
That's
you
the
end up on
important
the
part.
wrong side of TikTok. You got to delete the app
What
altogether.
I found has been helpful is the time limit setting.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
you know exactly, like, if you only want 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever the fuck it is, like, that pops up and you're like, oh shit, it's already been 30 minutes on this app. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
finish watching this video and get off.
Absolutely.
That
So
I have that on TikTok and Instagram, because as soon as that pops up, I'm like, been too long. Because I know I'm not at that point. Like, I have to do work on those apps, but when that hits, I'm not doing work. I'm
yeah.
usually like fucking around, just
Yes.
scrolling.
It just happens. It's a decompressor and then it becomes an addiction. So
Yes, then it adds stress. Awesome. Well, this was amazing having you on. Obviously, we're going to put the information down below for WildHErness. And is all the information on the website?
yeah,
Okay.
it's wildherness.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. Just look us up. We're expanding. We've got some events. We held an event in New York. We've had some stuff in Oklahoma. So if you're interested in doing what we do where you are, reach out, shoot us an email. We're looking to grow this thing.
Bring it to Pennsylvania.
So funny story, we'll have to talk about that after, but that might be on the books.
Ooh, you can tell me offline.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. And if anyone ever wants to reach out to you specifically, where can they find you? Do you have any public platforms?
Yeah, I have Facebook and I have Instagram. It's just Jess Rae, RAE. It's that for both of them. So you can reach out, you can message us. Our info is linked on our website too. We all get the same messages and emails. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions, any concerns, anything like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode. Hope you really enjoyed today's interview with Jess Rae. So check out the show notes for all the links down below. Also in those links, PWC is going to be accepting 6 new clients in April. So if you are struggling to lose weight, maybe Jess's story resonated with you, we're going to be bringing on 6 clients. So the application is down below. Don't feel like you're signing up for anything right away. I want to make sure it's a good fit first. So before you can even sign up, we will have a conversation. And if we both agree you're a good fit for the program, then we'll get started. Lastly, make sure to go and give this show a 5-star review and actually leave a review as well, as it helps me learn and create content for you guys, because ultimately that's what the show is about. It's not about me. It's about providing information to you, the listener.